I'm excited to present our preacher who's going to come and give us a word prophetically. And I'm hoping that those of you who are viewing are catching some of this. I see y'all watching. I see y'all watching even at work. Say, God bless y'all. I want you to know that this is relevant stuff. And we thank God today to have with us one of the most prolific prophetic voices of our time. I've known him for a long time, since he was in Bishop College, and that was a few years ago. He's not only a graduate of Bishop College, he is Dr. Frederick Haynes. He's a professor and a preacher and a pastor and a social justice leader across this nation. He pastors the Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. He's the founder. He is a tremendous visionary. His work speaks for itself. You want to Google him and Google his ministry and follow him. I don't tell our people just to listen to any preacher. If I tell you to listen to a preacher, I believe in the substance and the soundness of their proclamation. I want you to celebrate the preaching presence of Dr. Frederick Haynes, the third with us. He is a third generation preacher pastor, if not four. Third generation preacher pastor. Preaching is all in him. You can wake him up at 3:35 a.m. and ask him to say something, and he will preach then. I call him sometime, even on a Sunday morning, as I'm in preparation, and run a thought by him just to get him to say something to add to my message. And y'all don't know community of faith that when y'all shouting and saying, man, that was a major word. You don't know I got that directly from Dr. Freddie Haynes. At the morning, I just run a thought by him. What you think? And that's all you got to say to him, because he's always thinking. I want you to celebrate his presence with us today, Dr. Frederick Haynes III. Stand and let's give him the kind of welcome we always do when we're at church here at the Community of Faith.
Wow, you may be seated in God's presence. Let me express my appreciation and admiration, my heartfelt admiration for the phenomenal pastor and prophet, preacher par excellence, who gives such brilliant leadership, creative, visionary leadership to not only this church and ministry, but our state, our nation is blessed by the prophet you know as Bishop James Dixon. And I just want to say how blessed we are to have him. One of the things that I was thanking God for and sharing with some friends behind his back is that there are a few people I admire more than Bishop James Dixon. I admire him. I admire him for what I've witnessed today. I hope that you have seen that he is not just a profound preacher and prophet, but he is a teacher. We literally sat at the feet of a master teacher today who not only blessed us with other teachers and how we thank God for them, but he kept dropping pearls of wisdom and liberating insight. And I'm just ashamed of what I did not know. And so I want to just encourage you as members of this blessed body of believers, this amazing community of Christians, to sometimes just sit him down and videotape him and just let him teach and talk, because he was dropping so much that just literally blew my mind, man. What a gift you are. What a genius you are. And I thank God for you. He is right. He calls me on Sunday mornings and it trips me out because he's dropping this knowledge. Says, man, I'm thinking about this. And so while he's saying that, I'm just saying, well, let me write down what he's saying, because if I don't say it this morning, I'm going to say it next Sunday morning. Because as you know, the devil in hell knows he is a preaching phenom, a gospel genius. And that word is often used, but it's applicable to Bishop James Dixon. So I want to say thank you, man, for just being who you are and for the gift that you are. And I want to encourage you to not only pray for him, but protect him. Prophets are lonely. prophets catch a lot of hell. You're not going to be a prophet and tell the truth without catching a lot of hell. And so I hope that you not only will pray for him, but protect him, guard his reputation, guard him, protect him, and let anybody know, if you come for Bishop Dixon, you got to come through me to get to him, because I'm not going to let you take our prophet from us. We have allowed too many of our prophets to be taken from us, and I'm simply saying we're not going to let this prophet be taken from us, because whatever else I love about him, I love the fact that as great as he preaches in here, he also preaches in Austin, Texas. He also preaches in the halls of Congress. He also preaches at the White House, at the State House. He preaches the gospel in the sanctuary and the streets. And that's a prophet right there who's anointed by God. And I think we just need to say, God, thank you for blessing us with this mighty man of God, this prophet par excellence. Man, I love you. I thank God for you. I admire you. And this blows my mind. This blows my mind. Y'all not impressed, but it ain't a lot of James Dixons out there. And so when you have one, you ought to say, thank you, Jesus, that you have this one in our midst. God bless you, man, and thank you so much. Thank you. I want to, in these few moments, and God bless this panel. Y'all are just, man, y'all, I could listen to y'all all day. So thank you so much for blessing us and challenging us. We got to do better now. We got to do better. So thank you so much for your sacrifice and for your sagacity. What a blessing you are. And then thank you, community of faith, for having a pastor that has a vision where we're going to celebrate Juneteenth on our terms. Okay, y'all didn't get that. So you're right. We're not used to getting together, so I know we forgot call and response. That's a part of our Juneteenth legacy, okay? We talk back. We talk back. We talk back in movies, okay? So you know we can talk back in church. So don't forget who we are just because we've been on Zoom and stuff, okay? But yeah, we talk back. But to have something like this, so we celebrate Juneteenth. Yeah, y'all can declare it a holiday, but we're going to celebrate it on our terms, okay? On our terms. Thank you for that. In these few moments, I want to talk about liberation from the lie. Juneteenth, liberation from the lie. Juneteenth, liberation from the lie. Jesus said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. If the truth sets you free, then the lie will lock you up. James Baldwin put it this way: the messiness that characterizes so many of our lives and the life of this nation is rooted in the lies and the dishonesty that we tell ourselves. If the truth sets you free, then lies will indeed lock you up. We've seen it so often in the institutionalizing of lies in our policing system. Our policing system has been built on lies. A few weeks ago, we learned of the savage and brutal death, lynching, if you please, of Ronald Green over in Louisiana. Ronald Green's family had been told in 2019 that he had been killed in a car accident. That was a lie. They concocted a narrative that was contrary to the truth. It was a lie. And of course, we all know that in the policing system, when black bodies come up against a policing system, there is often a lie that is concocted to justify the murder, the lynching of that black body. If it's not for what? The videotaping that tells us the truth, we would not know know that a lie has been concocted, and yet the policing system is an illustration of the fact that we live in a nation that sadly, sinfully, yes, shamefully has been built on the lie. It's been built on the lie. I quote Baldwin one more time because Baldwin said that in the founding of this nation there was a fatal flaw that continues to haunt these disunited states to this day. Baldwin said that the founding fathers of this nation had to rationalize the inhumane mistreatment of black bodies that had been kidnapped from the shores of Mother Africa and then labeled and treated as chattel. Listen to Baldwin as Baldwin says that they reason in their minds these are human beings, but we cannot treat them as human beings because we have treated them as chattel, and through their chattel enslavement they are building our prosperity, and so we cannot treat them as human. We must treat them as chattel, and treating them as chattel comes from labeling them as chattel. And then he goes on to say we are Christians, and so this violates what it means to be a Christian. So we cannot call them human. We must call them chattel. We must call them property. We must label them as less than and not equal to. And that, according to Baldwin, is why this country suffers from a fatal flaw that continues to haunt us to this very day. Y'all didn't feel Baldwin, so let me bring Jay-Z to the witness stand. Jay-Z puts it like this. He talks about in the land of the free, the blacks are enslaved. 3/5 of a human, I believe, is what you call him. I hope you get it, because Jay-Z is lifting up imagery, the contradiction of a country that calls itself, watch this, the land of the free. And yet in the land of the free, you had black people who were treated as chattel in a land that you call lifting up liberty and justice for all. You labeled them 3/5 of a human being. All of that is reflective of the lie. You're still not getting it. If the truth sets you free, then lies will lock you up. And as a consequence, even as we move now to celebrate Juneteenth, it's not lost on me that there is a lot of a lie that is going on surrounding the celebration. Yes, it was beautiful. It was powerful to see Sheila Jackson Lee, to see Vice President Kamala Harris, not to mention Opal Lee of Fort Worth, Texas, who had spent so much of her life doing everything in her power to acknowledge and applaud Juneteenth as a national holiday. That blessed me, that encouraged and inspired me to see all of those powerful black women right there in the White House, a house that had been built by those who were labeled chattel slaves. And there they are in the White House signing into legislation Juneteenth as a national holiday. And yet, my sisters and brothers, in spite of that celebration, there was fabrication, there was prevarication behind the legislation. It's not lost on me that they are challenging us now to celebrate Juneteenth, while at the same time telling our schools not to teach what brought about Juneteenth. There's something about the lie that continues to lock us up. Check it out. It blows my mind. They want us to celebrate Juneteenth, and they pass Juneteenth legislation, but they can't pass the John Lewis voting rights bill. They have yet to pass the For the People voting rights bill. They have yet to pass an anti-lynching bill. Hold on. You can give us a holiday, but you can't pass anti-lynching legislation. Hold on. You can give us a holiday celebrating liberation and freedom, but you can't pass a voting rights bill that will in essence, ensure that voter suppression does not exist in this country. There's something about the lie that continues to lock this country up, precluding this nation from experiencing her real possibilities. Preach, Freddie Haynes. I'm trying not to, but I'm about to go there, because if the truth sets you free, a lie will lock you up. But here's the good news, and that is, the truth is that we are going to, I love it, Bishop Dixon, celebrate Juneteenth on our terms. We are going to celebrate it for us and not allow anybody to define what Juneteenth means to us, because when we do that, and here's your shout right here, we learn the lesson taught to us by the silver-tongued prophet of freedom, Frederick Douglass, in My Bondage and My Freedom. Doc, I know you already know this. He warned us about holidays. Frederick Douglass said that the slave master would use the holiday in order, watch this, to undermine thoughts of insurrection. The master said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a holiday to make you feel good for one day. I'm going to give you a holiday to make you celebrate for one day, but then I'm going to keep you in the same hell. I'll give you the holiday, but I won't change the system. I'll give you the holiday, but I won't change the structure. I'll give you the holiday, but I will not set you free. And he said that the holiday was given in order to quell any notion of rebellion, resistance, and insurrection. And so here's what we're going to do, Bishop Dixon. We're going to say, all right, y'all write into legislation the holiday, but we're going to transform it into a holy day. And on this holy day, we are going to define what Juneteenth is all about, because we're going to tell the truth so we can be liberated from the lie and write a new story that will make America what America claims she is on paper. We're going to birth new possibilities. Why? Because Juneteenth can't just be another American holiday. It's got to be black folks' holy day. And when we make it a holy day, we will set it apart in order to birth a new reality in these disunited states of America. What does that mean? I'm almost done. Jesus said the truth will set you free. So simply, I got to begin with, on Juneteenth, let's tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Reach, Freddie Haynes. I think I'm about to do. Since I'm in the community of faith, we got to tell the truth about America. Tell the truth about critical race theory. Tell the truth about the fact that America, yes, was born in a hostile takeover of indigenous land and shaped by white supremacy. We got to tell the truth. In spite of noble intentions and good stuff said on paper, America, my sisters and brothers, was born by white supremacy. Y'all still not getting it. We got to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And when we tell the truth, we'll tell America, America, you were built on the black backs of free labor, and that is why you have the strongest economy in the world. It's not because of industrialism. It's because so much of what was built in this country was built on the backs of free labor. And I'm simply trying to say, we got to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And if they won't tell the truth in school, we better tell it in the sanctuary. If they won't tell the truth in public education, you better tell it in the privacy of your homes. We've got to tell the whole truth and nothing but. Help us was God. And when we tell the truth, can I keep telling the truth? We got to tell the truth that sadly, white supremacy in this nation has been upheld by white evangelical Christianity, because we've had too many white evangelicals who were too busy being white to get around to being evangelical. I'm trying not to preach, but I'm almost there, because when you put your whiteness before your evangelicalism, then you support slavery. When you put your whiteness before evangelicalism, you sanction second-class citizenship and Jim and Jane Crow segregation. That is what has been wrong in this nation. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to say to this nation, to remix Jay-Z, allow me to reintroduce Jesus to you. Because when we reintroduce Jesus to you, we reintroduce the God of our weary years and silent tears, who has brought us thus far along the way, the God of the Exodus, who shows up on the side of the oppressed and emancipates the oppressed from enslavement in Egypt. I'm talking about the God who spoke through the prophets and gave them the power to speak truth to power. I'm talking about the God who gave us Jesus, who was born in Bethlehem, homeless, not just homeless, but under a death watch because of bad public policy. And the public policy of Herod created genocide in Bethlehem. And Jesus had to get up out of Dodge, and Mary and Joseph, they took him down to Africa to hide. Why do you take a baby to hide? You take a baby to hide where they can blend in, and you can't blend in an African ghetto if you're blonde with blue eyes. And Jesus then grew up in the hood in Africa, in Nazareth. He grows up in Nazareth. Nazareth was such a notorious hood that somebody said, when the Messiah was coming from Nazareth, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? Y'all didn't get NWA. What would y'all have sung back in the day? They said we would have had a song for Jesus. The song was Straight Out of Nazareth, because Jesus ministered on the margins in Galilee. Jesus hooked up those who had been left behind. Jesus lifted up those who had been knocked down. Jesus gave free health care to those with pre-existing conditions. Jesus gave healing to those who were sick. Jesus gave food to those who were food insecure. Jesus healed the sick, raised the dead. He did all of that. And then I'm about to shout, he led the march on Jerusalem. I know y'all call it Palm Sunday. That was a choreographed march on Jerusalem, where Jesus was coming in one side of Jerusalem and Pilate on the other side of Jerusalem, representing the Roman Empire. And the crowd cried out, Hosanna, which means save us, liberate us, deliver us. And Jesus then goes into the temple and turns over those who were economically exploiting the poor. And the book says he got lynched on Friday. They lynched our Lord on Friday because the Roman Empire was the only authority that could authorize lynching on a cross, because the crosses lined the Galilean landscape in order to tell anyone, in case you try to rise up in rebellion against the Roman Empire, you're going to get lynched. And so when Jesus got lynched, it looked like Rome had the last word. But since I'm in the community of faith, I might as well tell y'all, early Sunday morning, Jesus got up from the grave, and when he got up, he said to Rome, you don't have all power. I've got all power, and my power is liberating power. We've got to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And when we tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, I'm almost done. I've also discovered that we are going to make this a holy day, and as a holy day, we're going to strategize as to how to restructure this nation so that black lives really matter. Preach, Freddie Haynes, I just did. We're going to strategize. This ought to be a day where we celebrate black culture. Go ahead and do that thing. But it also should be a day where we bring our minds together and begin to strategize. They've taken MLK from us, but we still have Juneteenth. We got to strategize. How are we going to end voter suppression? Strategize. How are we going to restructure this country? Strategize. Y'all didn't get that. Restructure. I'll help you. Dr. Jeremiah Wright Jr. puts it like this. He says, if you bake a cake and then pull the cake out of the oven and say, oh my God, I forgot to add sugar, what do? Do you pour sugar on top of the cake? No. You got to rebake the cake. And I'm simply trying to say, America, we ain't gonna settle for sugar on the top of a cake. We got to rebake this thing. We got to rebake this thing until it is truly a country characterized by justice. We must rebake the cake. And so I simply say, yeah, I'm thankful. I praise God for the legislation that says Juneteenth is a holiday. We deserve that. But guess what? We're not settling for that. I'll give it to you like this. Did y'all see the movie Malcolm X when Denzel Washington became Malcolm X? He became Malcolm. This is what shouts me. There's a scene in there where one of the members of the Nation of Islam got brutally beaten by the police. This thing ain't old. It's rooted in the slave patrols, okay? And Denzel plays Malcolm. He goes to the police station and says, I'm looking for brother so-and-so, brother Johnson. And the police are trying to be all uppity and disrespectful. But Malcolm says, I'm not going anywhere, nor or hear the brothers of brother Johnson. The white man looks outside to see the brother standing in formation, just waiting. And then y'all know what happened. They take him to brother Johnson, and Malcolm says, get him an ambulance right now. He's got to get to the hospital. He's outside, and here comes the police officer. The police officer says, are you satisfied now? And Malcolm says, no, I'm not satisfied. To the hospital. And that's what we ought to say to America. Anybody that says, are y'all satisfied? Y'all got a holiday now? No, I'm not satisfied until you end voter suppression. No, I'm not satisfied until you end gentrification. I'm not satisfied until we experience justice in this nation. No, I'm not satisfied. We're going to strategize to restructure this nation because the cake is missing brown sugar. Preach, Freddie, I just did. I gotta quit. I've held y'all too long. In the final analysis, the truth is gonna set us free. This is a holy day, because understand this, I'm done. But here's the last piece, and that is, here it is. I love that y'all sang before I got up our national anthem, because this is my last point, and that is the faith that the dark past has taught us must work until we all level up. I'm done. The faith that the dark past has taught us must work. I think faith is really appropriate right here. I don't see why y'all not shouting. After all, I'm in the community of faith. This dome has been built by faith. The work you do in the community is a result of faith. Why? Because at the community of faith, y'all know that faith is a verb. Preach, Freddie, I just did. Faith is an action word. Since it's an action word, my Bible says, thank you, that faith without works is dead. And because faith is without works is dead, it's our faith that has brought us thus far. We haven't come this far by playing golf. We haven't come this far by playing video games. We haven't come this far by legislation. We've come this far by faith. It was faith that gave Harriet Tubman the wisdom and the courage to be a conductor on the Underground Railroad. It was faith that gave Frederick Douglass the power to self-emancipate. It was faith that caused Sojourner Truth to say, "You're not going to deny my humanity. Ain't I a woman?" It was faith that caused Ida B. Wells to declare, "I'm going to fight against lynching even without an anti-lynching law, even if my own life is endangered." It was faith that called W.E.B. Du Bois to use his brilliance to go from Fisk up to Harvard and then tell the nation about the souls of black folk. It was faith that caused Paul Robeson to say, "I'm going to use my platform on behalf of my people until all of us are free." Faith caused Rosa Parks to take a seat on that bus and begin and ignite the civil rights movement. It was faith that caused Rosa to sit and Martin DeMarch and John Lewis and Diane Nash and Ella Baker and Septima Clark and all of them to sit in. It was faith that caused the Freedom Riders to ride across America, riding for freedom. That was faith that did that. And if faith did it back then, it's going to be faith that will bring us through right now. I'm with you, Bishop Dixon. Don't you give up on the black church. The black church has been that freedom fighting machine, the headquarters for our hope. It was faith that did that, and faith will give us the power, I'm done, to level up, level up, level up. I quit with this. I was blessed, what was it, year before last, in a conversation with Pastor John Jenkins. He pastors on the East Coast. Pastor John Jenkins, watch this, has a plane, and he's a pilot. He pilots a plane. Him and an illustration about John Kennedy Jr. and his wife, because they perished because they experienced spatial disorientation. While they were flying, John Kennedy Jr. is flying the plane, and all of a sudden he doesn't know which way is up. And as a consequence, watch what happens. They crash and they perish. And John Jenkins shouted me. He said they could have survived the flight if they had just pushed one button above his head. I said, "What button is that?" He said, "The button is called level up. And all you have to do is flip the switch. And when you flip the switch and it says level up, all of a sudden the plane takes over and does for you what you can't do for yourself." The plane says, "I'm going to take it from here." The plane says, "I know you're disoriented right now, but I'm going to do for you what you can't do for yourself." How do y'all think black folk have made it through all the hell that we've been through? Enslaved, but we knew how to level up. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. During the civil rights movement, we faced down Bull Connors, dogs, and hoses, and Jim Clark's brutality. How do we do it? Because we knew how to level up and say, "We shall overcome." Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. So all I'm trying to say, y'all, it's time to level up. It's time to level up. I think the old school hymn put it like this: "I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground." Y'all, it's time to level up until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Level up because Kendrick Lamar is still right. All my life I had to fight, but if God's got us, we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right. We gonna be all right. It's time to level up.